Okay, hello. This is part 2 of my critique of the God delusion. So I left off with saying I was raised in a really strict religious setting, and that they even had dress codes in my particular sect. Again, this is not something that is very common in the United States. It's actually a pretty small group. Say that again. But I wasn't allowed to wear pants. I wasn't allowed to cut my hair. I wasn't allowed to wear makeup. I wasn't allowed to go to the movies or participate in theater. Anything like any sort of play or production outside of the church was sinful because it was just worldly and it promoted the wrong sort of ideas, so they said. Dancing was a sin too. That was the only thing that really upset me because I always wanted to take ballet lessons. And I always loved dancing. I still do. Like, I still just dance just to myself a lot and listen to music and dance. And but I wasn't allowed to have dancing lessons because it was sinful, or the church called it sinful, and so my mom didn't allow me to do it because my mom was influenced by the church, and so yeah, it was always sort of, yeah, it's not like I wasn't allowed to do it, but it's the church influenced my mother's thinking, and my mother didn't allow me to do things. That's sort of how it all worked. So anyway, but my dad is really non-religious. My parents divorced when I was about 3, and about the time my parents divorced was when my mom really got involved in this in this kind of odd little niche in Christianity. And but my dad continued to be non-religious, and I visited him once or twice a week. And whenever I would visit him, for the short amount of time that I would visit him, I would go to the movies, and I would go swimming. Like, so I went swimming anyway. That was one thing that I always did. It kind of broke the rules. Like, you're not supposed to go swimming in public, even if you wear like a shirt. What I always had to do was wear a shirt over my swimsuit. And that like sort of covered me up more. I wasn't supposed to even do that because when you get wet, you know, like your shirt really clings to your skin, and so it looks kind of immodest, or you can see the shape of your body even still. So I wasn't supposed to do that, but I did it anyway. I just went swimming with a big old shirt on, and I would do that with my dad too. I mean, like, I would go with my dad and go to the movies and stuff, but I still wore. I didn't cut my hair, and I obviously didn't cut my hair because I couldn't really take that back, but I always wore my skirts and dresses, and tried to kind of not do anything that would make my mother upset if I was caught or something. So anyway, so I was raised this way from the time that I was 3, well, because I primarily lived with my mom, and everybody that I knew besides my dad and my grandparents, everybody else that I knew, all the other adults in my life, all of my friends were all in this religion, and I was homeschooled on top of it. So I was educated at home. I didn't ever go to public high school in America. That's why I have a really hard time relating to people in general just around here, because particularly in this town that I'm living in right now, Titusville, it's my hometown. Because it's kind of small, and I didn't go to high school, so I don't really know many people. And I was educated at home. This sounds so crazy. Through like satellite, live satellite classes for like biology and history. Everything would come through the TV, even math. And I like watched the videos and did my homework on my own, and my mom helped too, but I was actually mostly on my own. I'm pretty self-educated, which I can't believe I admit that. But believe it or not, I know a lot more than your average high schooler, though. I mean, it wasn't bad. The education really wasn't bad. The thing is, as compared to European education, I'm stupid. Like, I don't know enough about history, I don't know enough about science, I don't know enough about anything to European standards. But to American standards, I'm smarter than your average American, even like being homeschooled and schooling myself. But only because American education is just so bad. You know, I shouldn't judge myself against American education. I tend to like to judge myself against European, like the European standard. And I didn't get, my education sort of fell short of the European standard, I'll say that much. But I did my best, whatever, I was practically on my own. What else can I say? I did the best I could. Anyway, I hate to get so personal here, but I think it's important, before I tell you about what I think about the book, I think it's important to share a little bit of myself and just say why, what affects me and what affects my opinions. So, I believed this way until I was 18. Well, actually, I was, of course, raised in the religion, but around the age of 15, I looked around me and I realized that things really weren't right and there was something really wrong. I could talk about that for a long time, about what really made me realize it, but it matters very little, because people who aren't familiar with the particular sect wouldn't understand. Just sort of like the whole tongues thing. There's a lot of things that, a lot of people who are watching this, about 99.9% of the people wouldn't know what the heck I'm talking about anyway, so there's no reason to go into the exact details of that. But around the age of 15, I said, I really don't think this is right, but I doubted for years, because I was always exposed to things and always told things all the time. So it's really hard when you're always told things to filter out that information and to try to think of the world objectively. It's really, really, really difficult. And anybody who's not in the situation really couldn't understand. They could say, how could you be so stupid to believe such stuff? But they weren't raised that way, so they really can't nachvollziehen the way my brain works in that way, or the way it worked. And kind of still works, because I am influenced even though, I'm away from it now, it still does influence my thinking, of course. Okay, so we're getting to the part about Germany. I decided to go to Germany when I was 18, just to kind of break away from everything and be on my own and figure things out for myself. So, yeah, that was quite an adventure. That's why I love the German language and culture, obviously, but I love the country too, because Germany was really the first place I ever went that I could actually be myself. And I had this renaissance in my life in Germany, and I was really reborn in there, and so I almost feel like in a way it's my country, or in a way it's almost my home country. I know that sounds so weird, it sounds like such a weird emotion. So, I sort of almost feel as much of a kinship and connection to Germany as I do to America, even though I was only there for a short amount of time. I only lived there for 6 months, but so much changed with me in that 6 months that I got really attached, I guess, and particularly to the language and culture. So I missed it a lot. I don't really, really love it. I don't love Germany so much that I would want to live there permanently, ever, because they are funny about some things too. Every country has its little faults, and so does Germany. Germany isn't perfect, but I like it a lot just because of the experiences I had there, and I was able to finally be free from the whole religious thing. Although when I was in Germany the whole time, it was only 6 months, but I was very on my own. I didn't have a lot of people in Munich that that really cared about me. I had friends in other places in Germany, but they were from previous connections, and in Munich I had a little bit of a hard time finding people that really cared. So I spent a lot of time alone and thinking about things, and that was good, but I really still did cleave to religion, because it was comforting to me. It was comforting to me to be able to go to church. I ended up going to a church that was British, and they weren't so strict. It was a Christian. They weren't as strict as how I had been raised. They were just like the really nice kind of Christians, and so I went there the whole time, and I was still very religious the whole time I was in Germany. And it's only been since I've come home, it's only been over the past year, that I've developed even sort of a different opinion about religion and about God. And so yeah, since I've been home, I really don't believe in the Bible anymore, and I don't believe in religion in general. I've come to that conclusion over the past year. So I'll talk a little bit more about that, just a little bit more, and then I want to go into my critique of the God delusion. So that'll be part 3. Stay tuned if you're indeed interested. Bye.